しくいい天気だね。一緒に日向ぼっこしない？
The Darkest Moonlight offering, as it was so hard to spot any survivors. And of course, the Darkest Moonlight offering could also be paired with the Thickest Fog offering to make things even worse. Do you know how hard it is to deal with a survivor you can't even see abusing an infinite loop? Because old school killers do, and it is not fun to say the least. The last in-game tactic worth mentioning was the old school sabotage squads and 99%ing hooks. In the past, hook sabotaging worked slightly differently to how it does now. In the present day, if you let go of the sabotage button before it's complete, then all progress is lost. But in the past, the progress would simply pause. While it did take a bit longer to sabotage hooks in the past, what survivors could do is preemptively set up all the hooks on the map to be 99% sabotaged and then simply instantly finish it if the killer was about to hook someone on it. This was, once again, another case of giving killers hope and then swiping it away from them at the last minute. And again, there was no Franklin's demise, so there wasn't anything the killer could really do about it. I've already mentioned that bully squads didn't really have much interest in winning, instead often opting to let the killer win. While part of the reason for this was because they already had their fun in bullying and tormenting the killer for the entire match and that was all they really cared about, there was also another reason many opted to lose, and that was to D-rank. DBD's old matchmaking system was even more laughable than the one it has nowadays. In the past, ranks would go from 20, being the lowest, what a fresh account would start on, to rank 1, where the people who played the game most often would be. So if someone was to be at a lower rank, they would often face new players, and a survivor dying was often enough to count as a loss and therefore a D rank. Once again, I'm sure you can see where this is going. For some of these bully squads, infinite loops, 4-second chance perks, glitches, etc. were still not enough. They still felt the need to D-rank in order to torment new players, and this absolutely did stop people from sticking with DBD for the long run. And I know this because in the comments of my other videos covering some of these individual perks and items, people talk about how they wanted to get into DBD, ended up playing against some of this ridiculous stuff, had zero fun, and subsequently never played the game again. So, circling back to what I said at the start of the video, I'm sure you can now see why some people absolutely do not think DBD used to be so much more fun in the past than it is nowadays. But that doesn't mean everyone who misses the old days was just a bully that spent every match harassing killers. In the past, playing Survivor was an absolute power trip, and every now and then it's nice to let loose, like getting a hero on Star Wars Battlefront 2. And in the end, things were much more simple and casual back then, and people do have a reason to miss that. So what caused the downfall of bully squads and why don't we see them anymore? Well, to put it simply, balance changes and bug fixes. Infinite loops got patched, the hostage taking glitches got patched, dead hard bounce glitches got patched, the perks got nerfed, maps got changed, and the Moonlight offerings got removed. Although it did take far too long, literally years, these ridiculous things did eventually get patched, and once again, the game might not be perfect now, but it is so much fairer than it used to be. And would you believe that back then people were adamant that killers were OP and that the devs quote unquote babied killers? Crazy stuff. Thank you so much for watching and thank you for sticking to the end. If you have any other things you'd like me to discuss in a similar style to this video, be sure to let me know. You can catch me live on twitch.tv/Arditha.
If you survive the death game only to be forced into another battle royale, If you survived a death game only to be forced into another battle royale against veteran killers, what would you do? This girl is about to become a symbol of revolution, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the Hunger Games catching fire. This girl is going to fight for her life against 23 brutal warriors. It's been several months since Katniss here participated and won a battle royale called the Hunger Games. She's been traumatized ever since, hoping to never go through that again. But when she returns home one day, government agents are there and reveal that the president wishes to talk with her in person. Meeting with President Snow, he congratulates Katniss here on her performance in the previous Hunger Games and tells her to sit down. He admits that there's been a problem ever since the girl revealed that there were poison berries in the arena, and the game maker has been murdered for not killing Katniss when he had the chance. The president then mentions that some of the other districts saw her strategy to win as an act of rebellion. If a citizen from District 12, the lowest of them all, was able to come out victorious, then they believe they can rebel too. It makes the man terrified of an uprising that could destroy their whole system of control, and threatens Katniss, revealing that thousands of her people could die because of her actions, just like what happened to District 13 a long time ago. That's when he brings out a cookie and asks who made it. She reveals that Peeta was responsible for the food, and he asks for the couple to act as lovers in public. They need to convince President Snow that they're worthy representatives for their district that acted out of love and not defiance, or else everyone she loves will be killed. Later that day, Effie and her assistants here arrive to congratulate Katniss on her victory. She mentions that Cinna, the man who created her outfit for the 74th Hunger Games, has become a fashion star in the capital, and he's also come to visit. The man is happy to see her and helps the girl get ready for her TV appearance. She's brought outside by Effie and broadcast to all the districts as the hottest new celebrity, with the other winner, Peeta, joining her in the middle of the compound. They fall over and passionately kiss each other as the people cheer them on. They thank the capital for their brand new luxurious lives, but these two are about to realize that this pretend act isn't going to last for long. Okay, Katniss here has gotten herself into quite the predicament. Without meaning to, she's unknowingly made herself the face of a revolution and has put her and her loved ones' lives in danger. She has to pacify the people in the districts with her love story, even though she's not actually in love. And to make matters worse, she's not the greatest bullshitter either. She has open contempt for President Snow and is going to have to act her face off or everyone she loves will die. However, there's something Katniss can do to help free herself and take down the capital. Snow has made himself comfortable and is eating her cookies without a second thought. Despite being scared of Katniss's image in the public eye, he doesn't see himself as being in any physical danger right now. Even though there are guards outside, Katniss could really just pick up this metal jaguar figurine on her desk and bludgeon him to death. Katniss's main skill may be using a bow, but she's also more physically fit than Snow, whose source of power is his cruelty and political position. She's already survived the Hunger Games and could easily take him down before his guards come in to save him. Now, this would immediately be a death sentence for Katniss and her family, but if the real goal is beating the capital, killing its leader is a great place to start. Taking down the head of state would require there to be a transfer of power, which by itself could cause the capital's government to crumble in on itself. Without a strong leader to unify its forces, the capital would also become more vulnerable to the rebels' attacks. Katniss does have another option here though. Snow likes the cookies that have been placed on Katniss's desk. Before going on her tour of the district, she should ask Peeta to make more of them, but this time use Nightlock in his recipe. Katniss and Peeta already used these poison berries in the last Hunger Games to survive, and they know that they're extremely deadly. Katniss's father told Katniss all about these berries, so they should also be able to find them somewhere around District 12. Now, getting Snow these cookies while still keeping him off guard would be the hard part, which is why if it were me, I would talk to Effie Trinket and Cinna, who have more connections in the capital. If they could help me find a way to place these cookies where Snow would eat them at the right place and the right time. Cinna is the better option since Effie is more likely to be scared, but she's become an ally after the last games and might have better connections than Cinna since he's a fairly new game stylist. After Snow's death, the Capitol Police could retrace the cookies back to me, but by the time they come looking for me, I'd already be gone hiding in the woods, taking my loved ones with me. The next morning, they're treated to an expensive meal by Effie along with their mentor Haymitch and Cinna. She tells them that they'll be visiting all 12 districts, ending with a visit to the capital as a part of the Victor's Tour. Katniss takes issue with the celebrations and refuses to accept the rewards in exchange for killing innocent young adults. She walks into the other room and Peeta here follows, admitting that he can't keep acting like a couple for the paparazzi. He offers to start with them being friends and asks to connect with her on a deeper level. That's when they enter this tunnel and exit the train to find themselves in a a heavily guarded District 11. As they're heading to the town square, Effie hands over the speeches they need to give, and the couple steps in front of the civilians of the district. Peeta begins to read the speech, but puts the card down and decides to give his own speech, apologizing for the fallen tributes. He announces that they'll be donating 1 month of their winnings to the families of their fallen tributes. Katniss takes over, apologizing for their loss and acknowledging that she feels guilty for not being able to save Rue, one of the tributes. This civilian points his hand up in protest, with others joining in to spark an uprising. That's when these armed guards storm into the crowd and take away the old man, who's brutally executed while Katniss is dragged away. Haymitch takes her up into a building and is furious that she didn't play by the rules. Frustrated, Haymitch informs them that they're now mentors, meaning that they'll be treated as celebrities, and every piece of their private lives will be revealed to the public. They need to do their best to keep up the ruse and not go off script. They continue visiting the different districts, but so far, nobody believes their act. The next morning, Haymitch scolds them for failing to convince the people of their sincerity and tells them that President Snow is going to be furious. That's when Katniss here suggests that she and Peeta get married. It sounds ridiculous, but her partner reluctantly agrees to the proposal before walking away. Their engagement is announced to all the districts on national television, and that night, they're taken to a private party by Effie, who informs them that everyone is here to celebrate the special occasion, including the president. They're taken through a crowd of upper-class citizens and told to hold hands, doing their best to act like a loving couple. That's when Effie brings them into this banquet, and the two are offered food and drink. Peeta here refuses and tells Katniss they should dance, but as they're trying to keep to themselves, they're interrupted by Effie, who introduces them to the current head game maker Plutarch Heavensbee. He requests to dance with Katniss and quietly comments that he volunteered to become a head game maker, taking over from the previous game maker that was killed. Suddenly, the crowd cheers, and Effie here tells her that President Snow is about to make an appearance. He walks out to congratulate the newly engaged couple as an inspiration to the districts. The fireworks go off, and while everyone throws up their hands, Snow looks towards Katniss, shaking his head. It's clear he's not happy with her progress, and when she goes back to the train, the girl peeks through the store to see a news report of an uprising in one of the districts. The next morning, she finds her old friend Gale here and brings him into the forest. She reveals that President Snow wants him killed, and they need to leave as soon as possible with their families. Gale insists that they need to join the rebellion, but Katniss refuses to help out. That's when they spot peacekeeper trucks driving through the district and hide from their sight, but Gale insists that he'll be staying to fight back. Okay, Katniss's tour to pacify the districts and stop rebelling isn't going well. Full-blown riots are breaking out all over the districts, and her family will be killed, so she'll have to think fast if she wants to make it out alive. Now, Katniss is clearly a face for the rebellion. The problem is, she doesn't necessarily want to keep the things the way that they are, and her mere presence is fueling their fire. Snow is trying to turn her image against her and make the people hate her, but it's not working. Even when she and Peeta cooperate, the people of the districts know that they're faking it, which means that if Katniss wants to survive, she has to leave. That said, Katniss here actually comes up with this plan herself. She tells Gale that they should run and hide in the woods, but she doesn't execute on it because he wants to stay and fight. However, if she was thinking clearly, she would see that she is more at risk than him, and she needs to hide before her mother and sister are killed. Katniss is a skilled hunter and survival expert on her own, but if she takes Peeta with her, he can help disguise her family with his camouflage skills. In reality, celebrities and figureheads are stalked by the paparazzi. Katniss is in a similar predicament, and even if Katniss tries to play by Snow's rules, she has no control over whether the public believes her. She could try to convince Snow that keeping her in the public eye is a problem, and he should just let her go back to living in District 12 in obscurity. But that would also give him more incentive to kill her. Once she's no longer of value to him, she only potentially creates a threat by being alive. Escaping and leaving before things get worse is the best plan, even if it means that her and her family will be on the run. The rebellion has already started, and they can take down Snow without her. The other thing Katniss can do is defile her public image. The main problem with Snow's plan to ruin her image is that his plan is to convert her into a capital figurehead, still keeps her in a position of power. If Katniss goes into the public eye and does something really embarrassing like binge drinking and public urination, she'll no longer be able to be used by either side. Snow's main concern if he lets her go is that she will still have power and influence, but by forfeiting that, she no longer presents that threat. This is also similar to celebrity culture. After a celebrity overuses their image, they become oversaturated and an annoyance to the public. No one will want to see her anymore, and she will be free to escape into the woods. Snow will also have to move on to bigger issues because there's still a brewing rebellion, and Katniss is no longer relevant. Suddenly, they hear a gunshot in the distance, and they rush into District 12 to find that the peacekeepers are terrorizing the citizens. They're raiding houses, destroying any potential items that the citizens could use to fight back with. Katniss and Gale run into the commotion, but then the man notices this peacekeeper kicking down an old woman. He tackles the guy to the ground, but is held back and ordered to the square. Meanwhile, Katniss treats this woman's wounds, but then hears sounds of a man being whipped out in the open. She runs over to see Gale being brutally flogged by the Peacekeeper commander and tries to stop him. Gale insists the girl leave, terrified she'll be punished, but she refuses to move out of the way. The commander pulls out a gun, but then Haymitch rushes in and formally introduces them, insisting that Katniss didn't mean any harm. The commander refuses to leave them alone, while Peeta joins in, backing up his mentor, and Haymitch demands him to stop, telling him that President Snow wouldn't be happy to see the winning tributes be killed. Convinced, he puts the weapon down and insists that they never do this again, or else they'll be brutally murdered before demanding everyone clear the square. They take Gale into Katniss's house, and her sister Primrose checks out his wounds. After examining him, the girl applies a painkiller into the man's back, and he calms down. Later that night, Katniss kisses him on the lips and sleeps by his side until the next morning, when Peeta here walks in. He offers to take over, and she agrees, but it's clear the man's jealous of their relationship. Later that day, President Snow announces that the 75th Hunger Games is soon to begin, but there's a twist. This year's games will be called a Quarter Quell, where previous victors from each district will be forced to participate in another Hunger Games, no matter their age or health. Freaking out, Katniss runs out to the forest, realizing that she'll now be forced into another deadly death game. The next day, Effie here announces to the whole of District 12 that Katniss will be the female tribute to participate in the games. Taking a slip of paper, she then announces that Haymitch will be the male tribute, but Peeta here instantly volunteers. Suddenly, the entire district throws their hands up in protest, and the Peacekeepers force the tributes into the train. On the ride over to the capital, Effie tells them that the Quarter Quell is a special Hunger Games, with every single opponent being a seasoned player who wants the newest victors dead. Okay, Katniss and Peeta are heading back into the Hunger Games, but this time, they'll be facing people who have thrived in this environment and need to have a much better strategy or they'll get killed. These people are full-grown adults, and in the past, they were up against some tributes who are much younger and weaker than them. However, Peeta and Katniss have something that the rest of the other victors don't have right now, which is the public's attention. Something that they know from the last games is that they can gain tools from audience sponsors who want to see them win. Leading up to the games, they have to milk their celebrity status for all that it's worth and meet with wealthy fans that may be able to assist them later. They should also study the other victors' past Hunger Games. Since the games are filmed and televised, they should have no problem getting copies of their games and scour them for their opponent's strengths and weaknesses. These people have also been in the public eye for much longer, so there are probably tons more news stories and rumors out about them. Katniss and Peeta need to not only research their lives, but also find some of the victors' enemies in real life to learn how to manipulate them. Learning about these people could provide dirt on them that we can use to ruin their public images, making them less likely to gain sponsors in the games. Katniss could also try to kill or wound these people before they get into the games. She knows from last time that there's an opportunity to be in a training room with them where she will be fully equipped with a bow and arrow. Since the games haven't started yet, the really good players from District 1 and 2 should be her main targets. They won't be expecting this attack, and she could easily take them out before the games have begun. The worry here is that Snow and the Capitol will retaliate by killing me, but right now they are still trying to keep the peace rather than go into full-blown war. Killing the more competitive districts first would be a PR nightmare for them and would confuse their strategy about my narrative. On the other hand, I'd done what they were hoping for and turned violent against the other districts, but the poorer districts already don't like Districts 1 and 2, and killing them could be interpreted as an act of rebellion. The district would have to hide the killings or blame them on another victor, leaving me much better off going into the games. There's a possibility that they might replace them with more victors, but this would delay the games, giving me more time to gain sponsors and learn about my remaining competition. Regardless, plotting like I'm already in the games before the games have begun would be an advantage. Finding ways to kill the strongest people fast would be worth considering, since I'm not only playing against them, but the head game maker. At their hotel, Haymitch suggests they try to make allies with their competitors and introduces them to each pair of enemy tributes, detailing how their attributes could be of use to them. He shows them this winner Finnick, who was the youngest winner of a Hunger Games and has the skill to win again. His only weakness is that his partner here is Max, an old tribute that volunteered in a younger woman's place. Later, as Katniss is getting ready for the traditional chariot ride, the veteran tribute Finnick approaches her offering a sugar cube, but she turns him down. That's when he moves closer to the girl and gives his condolences about her canceled wedding, knowing that their relationship is a sham. With that, the tributes all get onto their chariots and ride out for the opening ceremony. As they're heading down the road, Peeta and Katniss's costumes erupt in fire, gaining the attention of everyone around them. Later, the District 12 tributes enter the training center and take a look at what potential allies they could make or opponents they'll face. All of these tributes are absolute killers, and it's going to be nearly impossible for District 12 to keep up. Noticing these two people trying to start a fire, fire, Katniss walks over to give them some advice, and this nerdy-looking man, BT, is able to create a plume of smoke. They thank Katniss and tell her to look over at the corner of the observation room, where she spots a barely visible force field keeping the higher-ups safe. He points out that all the holograms are flickering in the training center, and Katniss realizes the force field is taking up too much energy to power, with no idea that this design flaw will save her life. That's when she notices this old woman Mags creating a fishhook with her hands, and Katniss goes over to her, offering to teach her how to hunt in exchange for learning how to make a fishhook. The older woman happily agrees, and Katniss brings her over to this training room where she takes out holograms of multiple enemies with perfect accuracy. As soon as she's done, Katniss realizes the other tributes have been watching her in awe, and after they return to their rooms, Haymitch informs her that she's so impressive, half of the people competing want her as an ally. Katniss insists they team up with the tech geniuses and the old woman, but Haymitch disagrees. Those tributes will put them in danger, and he refuses to let her risk their lives. That night, on the eve of the 75th Hunger Games, this TV show host Caesar begins to interview the tributes, and in private, Cinna here shows off a wedding dress to Katniss that the president insisted she wear, but there's a twist. He tells the girl that he's made a few modifications. The other tributes walk up, making speeches that express their anger and sadness about having to participate in a second round of the Hunger Games. Katniss walks onto stage in the wedding dress, and the host comments that the audience is disappointed that she and Peeta didn't have the chance to get married. The woman agrees, and the host invites her to show off the dress. Obeying him, she twirls around and the dress burns up, revealing there's another layer below. It transformed her into a mockingjay, a symbol of the rebellion, and marks Cinna as an enemy of the state. Afterwards, Peeta is interviewed next, and he informs the audience that he actually married Katniss in secret, but to make matters worse, he lies that she's pregnant with their baby. The audience stands up in support of the couple and protests to stop the games. Each of the tributes raise their hands in unison, making it clear they're of the same mind, before the lights are turned off. Okay, Katniss here hasn't done anything to show Snow and Heavensbee that she's going to try to convince the public not to revolt. And after Peeta has dropped the fake baby bomb on the audience, they are the source of even more controversy. To make matters worse, they're about to go into the games, and they haven't prepared themselves properly or officially aligned themselves with any of the other players. However, Katniss here has shown everyone that she's a deadly opponent and is worth having as an ally, which means that everybody wants to work with her. So instead of isolating herself, she should tell everyone that she wants to team up with them. This way, everyone in the game will think that she's on their side, when in reality, she'll only be loyal to a few. That gives her the early opportunity to kill the strongest players first, while they're not expecting her to attack them. She can pick them off one by one, and each team won't know that she promised them she would be their allies too. Katniss's reputation of aligning with physically weaker players is well known from the last game, so she'll have to gain the trust of Districts 1 and 2 by convincing them she means business this time around because of the baby. The players are going to the arena the next day, so they also don't have the opportunity to talk amongst themselves and realize that Katniss and Peeta have double-crossed them. Although it may come out eventually that Katniss and Peeta have alliances with several different teams, it would still be to their advantage to have these alliances in place when the game starts. Katniss knows from the first game that as soon as they enter the arena, there's a mad dash to the weaponry, and this is the bloodiest part of the game since everyone is in the same location at once, and it forces them to fight to get to the tools they need. If Katniss doesn't have allies in the beginning, then she will have a target on her back since she's a strong player, but by forging these alliances, it will give her the freedom to go to the weaponry and gather whatever she needs without the threat that someone will kill her. Peeta is also a much less physically violent player, and by forging alliances, she'll have to worry less about whether he's holding his own, since there's less of a threat, leaving her more open to killing their opponents. Later, Haymitch congratulates them for the drama, but informs them that the games will continue even though the audience believes Katniss is pregnant. Effie here hands out presents, giving a gold bangle to Haymitch, a pin for Katniss, and a medallion for Peeta. She tears up before wishing them luck in the games and leaves the room. Haymitch is about to follow her, but Katniss stops him to give the man a hug and tells him to make sure Peeta survives, even if she has to die. He agrees, but warns her to remember who the real enemy is, and she's got no idea this will save her life. The next morning, Cinna joins the girl in the transportation ship, where she's injected with a tracker, and the aircraft flies off to the battle arena. Now, the 75th Hunger Games is about to begin, and the fashion designer gives the girl a Mockingjay pin, wishing her luck before she leaves. She steps into the launch pad, which shields itself shut, but suddenly, Peacekeepers storm in and beat down Cinna for modifying the costume. He's taken away, and Katniss can't do anything to save him. That's when the girl is sent up to the battle arena and looks around for Peeta, but he's nowhere in sight. A countdown begins, and Katniss here gets ready for the race of a lifetime. As soon as it reaches 0, she dives straight into the pool of water and swims against the other tributes. She makes it to the cornucopia building at the center of the arena and quickly picks up a bow and arrow. The girl shoots one of the tributes and he falls into the water before realizing Finnick is behind her. He tells the girl that they're allies and shows her Haymitch's golden bracelet as a sign of trust. The man then throws his trident at a tribute rushing towards them and proves he's not lying. That makes one player down with 23 more to go. He warns Katniss not to trust the people of Districts 1 or 2 and reveals that his partner Mags has found Peeta. They go running down one of the paths to see the young man in the water struggling to defend himself. They're about to help, but Peeta drags the other tribute into the water and drowns the man, swimming back to the surface alone. That makes 2 players down with 22 more to go. Leaving their starting point, they run into the forest and Finnick tells them to take a break. Peeta mentions that the heat is unbearable and they need to find fresh water soon. Suddenly, a cannon goes off several times, indicating how many tributes have died. That makes 5 players down with 19 more to go. The survivors continue moving through the woods and Peeta cuts through the vines when suddenly he hits a force field. The impact triggers an explosion that knocks him away and Katniss realizes that he's not breathing. They quickly resuscitate him, and as soon as he wakes up, the girl kisses him on live television for everyone to see. Continuing through the jungle, Katniss notices a trap ahead of them and climbs this tree to get a view of the entire arena. Noticing something strange, she shoots an arrow into the sky and watches as it hits the force field. She tells the others that the arena is dome-shaped, but couldn't find any signs of fresh water. Okay, Katniss has no way of knowing whether Finnick is actually an ally or not. He could have killed Haymitch in his sleep and taken the bangle to play Katniss and double-cross her, but he's just saved Peeta's life, so for now, he definitely doesn't want us dead. With this in mind, I'd stand my guard and wait to see if I get a sponsor gift from Haymitch to make sure he's alive before I can fully trust him. Although Katniss and Finnick don't get along, he's strong, and as long as our goals are aligned, he would be an asset against the other victors. For the most part, Katniss and Peeta are safe from the remaining teams right now, since they're hidden amongst the trees. An enemy could show up at any minute, so before stopping to rest, I would leave behind delicate branches and twigs that would rustle or snap if someone comes along and tries to sneak up on us. The allies could also try to climb into the trees and watch anyone that's approaching from higher, but this would be dangerous for someone like Peeta who needs rest, or Mags, who might have a difficult time climbing. However, that shouldn't stop Katniss from doing it herself as long as she's well rested and doesn't run the risk of falling asleep. She could snipe opponents with her bow from far away and kill them before they even know what hit them. Now, the last and most important thing that the allies should do is remove the tracking devices in their arms, as it's essential to their survival. Not only are they up against the other victors, but they are up against the Capitol who's tracking their every move. The Capitol can still watch them from their cameras, but if they use Peeta's camouflage skills, they may be able to slip away from them in the canopy bed. Doing this will give Heavensbee and the Capitol less control over them, making it harder to catch the allies in different traps laid out around the arena. To heal, the best thing they can do is rip pieces of their aqua suits and wrap it around their arms tightly. Finnick reminds the group that it's about to get dark and they should set up camp, taking turns sleeping while one person keeps watch. Katniss here offers to take the first shift, while Peeta and the others get some rest. That night, they see a hologram of the fallen tributes, realizing that 8 people were taken out. That makes 8 players down, with 16 more to go. That's when a supply drop flies down right on their location, and the girl opens it to find a gift from Haymitch. Katniss figures out that it's a spile used to collect fresh water from trees, and she immediately hammers it into one, letting the dehydrated tributes take turns sipping their first drops of clean water. Later that night, they hear a loud banging sound in the distance, and Katniss notices that it sounded 12 times, unsure of what it means. Suddenly, they spot this bolt of lightning striking from afar, while Finnick tells her that he's going to take a nap and leaves her to stand watch. Later, Katniss wakes up realizing that she fell asleep by accident, looking to her side and seeing this strange fog flowing towards her. Touching it, she's gruesomely burned and wakes the group up, revealing that the fog is poisonous. Together, they sprint away from the fog as it starts chasing after them, but as they're running, Katniss trips. Acting quickly, Peeta goes back and risks his life to save the girl, but gets caught in the fog. Injured, he stumbles over, and Finnick here struggles to make it to safety, but they're all exhausted. Katniss realizes she's too weak to carry her friend, and there's no way they'll be able to survive. It's terrifying, but that's when Max decides to save their lives and ditches them, giving the group time to carry PETA away. That makes 9 players down, with 15 more to go. The Cloud manages to catch up and they collapse to the ground in pain, rolling down a hill. When they come to a stop at the bottom, Katniss looks back to see the fog suddenly vanish before it can kill them. They're lucky to still be alive, and she crawls over to a nearby pool of water to wash off the chemicals, quickly realizing that the water cures their burns. After the survivors clean themselves, Katniss gives her condolences to Finnick about Mag's death, but that's when they notice they've been surrounded by a group of monkeys. It must be another trap, and she tells PETA to back away slowly as more of the terrifying creatures gather around them. Realizing the animals aren't going to retreat, Katniss insists that they head to the beach. Suddenly, the monkeys attack, and they're forced to fight them off. Katniss gets taken by surprise and knocked into the water before PETA here manages to pull the monkey off of her, insisting that they make it to the beach now. The group runs away as fast as they can, but the boy falls to the ground. One of the creatures is about to attack him, but at the last second, he's saved by a stranger hiding in the trees. PETA recognizes her as one of the tributes and drags her away, while Finnick fights off the remaining beasts. The group makes it to the beach, and PETA comforts the dying player to look up at the beautiful sky before placing her into the water. That makes 10 players down, with 14 more to go. Later, they find food to eat, when suddenly the group hears a terrified scream from the distance. A massive tidal wave sweeps through the forest, crashing into the cornucopia structure at the center of the lake, and a ship flies in to pick up another body. That makes 11 players down, with 13 more to go. Suddenly, they spot another group of tributes nearby, and Finnick here runs over, recognizing his friend Joanna. Okay, these primates are scary as shit. They're aggressive and they look ready to fight. But by identifying the type of primate, the allies can find a better way to survive their attack. Although the majority of the species in the Hunger Games don't exist in reality, they're usually a more evolved version of animals that exist today. Katniss and the allies were right to initially start to back away slowly before taking off and running, but they did something essential that was wrong here. Rather than looking at the baboons directly, the allies should have averted their eyes and by no means shown their teeth to them at all. Direct eye contact and teeth can be interpreted as a form of hostility by baboons, and are what usually provokes them to attack in the first place. Baboons don't normally attack unless provoked as well. They may become a nuisance if you have food, but the allies don't have anything to eat, and baboons are omnivores, so that means that they typically eat grass, berries, and seeds, or fish, small birds, and hares. They don't have any interest in killing humans unless they feel threatened, and slowly backing away while not looking directly at them would be the best way to get rid of them. This is important because baboons are extremely intelligent and can run, jump, and climb faster than humans. Running from a baboon is extremely risky and should only be used as a last resort. The other thing that the allies should have kept in mind about baboons is that they hate water. They were right to run into the ocean, but they were also very close to a lake when they first came into contact with the baboons. If they had been decisive, looked away, and thrown water at the first sign of a baboon, this might have scared it off and stopped the others from gathering. By knowing these tricks, the allies could have walked away from the baboon attack without a scratch on them and even saved the girl from having to die. Instead, these people need to now keep their guards up from oncoming Victor attacks while out of energy and trying to figure out what the heck is going on with the lightning tree and the different parts of the electric dome. Katniss and PETA join the rest of the group, as Joanna here explains that not only was her group caught in the jungle when blood began to pour from the sky, but they lost a teammate. That's when this confused tribute Wires walks up and repeatedly says the words TikTok. Her partner BT explains that she's in shock, with no idea it's going to help figure out how to escape. Katniss cleans the blood off the confused woman, but then notices BT creating some kind of device with the coil. Suddenly, the confused woman shouts out TikTok, repeating it several times as a bolt of lightning strikes this specific part of the arena. It makes Katniss realize that the woman isn't crazy, but is actually trying to tell the others that this lake is shaped like a clock, with each designated area holding their own deadly hazards. Each trap happens once every hour, and when a bolt of lightning strikes, it indicates that something new has been activated, like the tidal wave, which happened at 10 a.m. Finnick notices that the cornucopia's tail is pointing towards 12, and they realize that the lightning strikes at noon and midnight on the big tree. Suddenly, they look over to see the confused tribute get stabbed by another player, and Katniss fires an arrow into his chest, but then more of his teammates come out to ambush them. That's when the cornucopia spins in circles, and the tributes hold on for their lives. That makes 15 players down, with 9 more to go. Katniss has swept swept into the water, but manages to survive as the structure stops spinning. They head to shore and discuss what to do with the remaining tributes, figuring that there are only a handful left. Suddenly, Katniss hears her sister's voice screaming out for her and runs into the woods, thinking that she might have been kidnapped for the games. Finnick chases after her knowing something's wrong, but when the girl shoots down a bird, the screams stop. It's an animal created by the Capitol that mimics human speech, and Finnick then hears the scream of his lover. The two realize that it's a trap meant to send them back into the jungle, and they run back to shore as the angry birds attack. The way is blocked off by a force field, and they're forced to listen to the sounds of their loved ones screaming. After passing out, Katniss wakes up traumatized by what she heard, and Joanna reassures her sister is safe. But then she calls out President Snow, threatening to start a riot in the Capitol. Later, BT here announces that he has a plan to take out their opponents. He points out their enemies are probably hiding in the tree line, which will be soaked in water from the 10 a.m. wave. Since lightning strikes that one tree at midnight, he proposes that they leave the beach at dusk and head for the lightning tree, drawing their enemies back to the beach. They'll run these wires he found from that tree to the water, and that'll electrocute anyone in or around the lake. The group agrees to his idea, but Katniss isn't sure she can trust him. Later, she confronts Peeta and insists that they should leave before the plan is underway. She knows that they'll have to fight off the remaining tributes, and only one person will be left alive. Peeta tells her that they should stay until midnight and only leave if they hear a cannon go off before the plan begins. That night, they walk through the forest and watch as another set of tributes is confirmed to be dead. That makes 17 players down, with 7 more to go. BT finds the tree perfect to wrap the coil around and warns them not to be anywhere near it when the lightning hits. He gives Katniss the wires and has her unroll it all the way back until she reaches the lake. Peeta insists that he come along, but BT here argues he needs to stay here to protect them from their enemies. Okay, BT here is acting strange. He's got a plan that will hopefully help the allies eliminate the other career tributes, but there's absolutely no reason that Peeta and Katniss need to split up. The other players have an ulterior motive, but if Katniss really wanted to get her and Peeta out of the game in one piece, she would insist that she swap places with Finnick and be one of BT's guards. BT here tells the allies that he needs 2 guards in order to protect him from the tributes, but that doesn't mean it has to be Finnick and Peeta. Rather than leaving with Joanna, Katniss should have insisted that she swap places with Finnick and have him go with Joanna instead of her. Katniss and Peeta haven't split up for any reason since the games began, and she knows that if she leaves him, he won't be able to fight for himself against Finnick if he needs to. There is strength in numbers, and Peeta is the only one that Katniss knows she can rely on at the end of the day. If the other players refuse to let Katniss swap with Finnick, then she would know that something is up and could draw her bow on them until they tell her what they have planned. Until this moment, the allies have been on Katniss's side, but only moments before she was planning to leave them, so she should be aware that the end of the game is near, so there will be a shift in each of the allies' individual plans. By refusing to leave Peeta's side, the allies will be forced to tell her what's happening and let her strategize with them to secure both her and Peeta's safety. The other problem with BT's plan is that for it to work and kill the remaining career tributes, it will require that they have gone to the beach. Although it seems like sound logic that the careers would prefer to be on the beach than in the jungle, if they figured out the hands of the clock like the allies, they would be able to easily avoid each hand of the clock and stay hidden by moving each hour. The beach is a great option because the tributes can avoid each threat, but it also leaves them exposed. The jungle will be much safer once the hands of the clock have been figured out, which means that the allies are taking a gamble on the fact that the careers have decided to move down to the beach. If it were me, the more and more I picked BT's plan apart, I would realize that it relies on too many assumptions. It isn't worth separating from Peeta and try to kill the career tribute using my bow. Katniss and Joanna head off, but on their way to the beach, the girl spots a career tribute in the distance. She's then hit over the head by her partner, who warns her to play dead and uses herself as a decoy to lead them away. Getting up, she runs back to the giant tree as fast as she can and finds BT convulsing on the ground. Suddenly, the girl hears someone in the distance and aims her bow, spotting Finnick. He knows she's about to kill him, but then quotes her mentor, telling her to remember who the real enemy is. It makes her realize he's still her ally, and the girl notices the storm is about to begin. With the wire cut, she ties some of the cable around her arrow and times her shot. The lightning strike electrifies the cable, and the arrow hits the force field, knocking out the power for the entire arena. When she wakes up, Katniss sees a ship arrive, and a cage drops down to take the girl away from the Hunger Games. Later on the ship, Katniss comes to realize BT is next to her, and quietly makes her way to the cockpit. Opening the door, she's surprised to see Haymitch with Finnick and the head game maker. She freaks out seeing them together, but her mentor tells her to calm down. Heavensby here explains the rebels organized a secret plan to rescue her from the arena with some of the other tributes, and now they're headed to District 13 to meet up with the resistance. But there's a problem. The other survivors, including Peeta, have been captured captured by the president, and the girl furiously attacks Haymitch but is quickly knocked out with a serum. That makes 18 players down, with 6 survivors. When Candace wakes up again, she sees Gale has been waiting for her, and it's bad news. Her family is safe, but their district has been completely destroyed. It's horrifying, but it makes her determined to stretch out this franchise into 2 more movies.
But what do you think? How would you beat the Hunger Games Catching Fire? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. And don't forget that from now on, we'll be uploading on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Until next time, have a damn good day.
公リコ。
満たさなきゃ見つからない。
もう一人の主人公ロイ。
伝説のポケモンに挑戦する、そんな冒険者になるんだ。
フリース、そしてキャプテンピカチュウ。
ポケモン博士としての血が騒ぐ。
ピカ。
夢と、そしてな。 謎に満ち溢れたポケットモンスターの世界を舞台にリコとロイの新たな冒険が始まる。2人を待ち受ける出会い、そして運命とは。新シリーズ4月14日放送スタート。初回は1時間スペシャル。
New videos are released.
Suppose I can't see without my glasses.
I can't see a damn thing if they walk.